Thanks for tuning in to the second part of our interview. If you haven't seen part 1, you may want to check that out first. Enjoy the show.
Did like everything that I could have, and at the end of the day I did lay it all on the line, and I still failed, and I still lost. What does that actually say about me then as a person? Well, it doesn't say anything about you as a person.
No, exactly.
You know,
that's the
thing. It's where you're at in life. Like, okay, cool. So you met somebody else who's a better martial artist than you today.
Yeah.
But guess what? If you keep training, in 5 years, they won't be here, and you will.
Yeah,
that's right.
That goes back to the consistency thing.
Yeah.
Like, I can't tell you, and you've probably noticed it too, just how many talented, both physically, business-wise, looks, like how many talented instructors have we seen come in and go right back out?
Right.
You're like, how did they not? They're not teaching. What do you mean they're not teaching anymore? Like, they had everything going for them, and they still couldn't make it work.
Or even like the students, you know, like you get that, you know, kind of hate to put it this way, but that high school jock that comes in and like you're teaching him stuff, and like he's got the body coordination to just rip through everything. You're like, dude, like this is so much fun. You know, it's fun when you're teaching people and they're getting it, and then all of a sudden they hit their first, you know, which for me was generally around Pinyon 3, you know, the purple belt form. They hit that and it's weird and it's difficult. And they're like, well, this isn't my thing. Before. I quit. Yeah, it's something they've never done before, you know. And the people that I notice that always stick, and of course all martial art instructors will be like, oh yeah, that's true. The people that stay are the ones that you literally wonder how you can walk and not fall and kill yourself on the way to the car from the door. You're just like, you are the most uncoordinated sack of pudding I've ever met in my life. Like, I don't understand how your legs and arms aren't broken every day. And my thinking on this is because for those people, everything's hard.
They're working all the time.
I don't understand what it's mean when things are easy. So this is just normal for me. But when people get to a point where you get complacent, like, oh, well, this is easy. Oh, well, this is normal. Oh, well, like, yeah, I can do this because it's easy. It's like, okay, well, what about doing something that you can't do that's hard? Yeah, I don't want to do that because it's hard and I don't want to do that.
Yeah.
It's like, well,
it's uncomfortable.
It's uncomfortable, you know, but in the uncomfortable is where we grow.
Yeah.
You do not grow from being comfortable. You know, you do not grow from, you know, just like, you know, like you could use lifting weights, for example. You know, you could lift weights all day long, but if you can wrap out like, you know, 20 reps of 5 pounds on a dumbbell, you're not really doing much.
Yeah, if you're not tired by the end of it, did you even work?
Yeah, if you are not like feeling that fatigue, if you're not feeling, and it hurts. I get it. You know, you're going to have to put forth that blood, sweat, and tears. And I think this is kind of what's going on with everything. And unfortunately in our society, I think there's such just an overall malaise.
Yeah.
A depression, as you know, so to speak, of, you know, like, I'm just tired. I don't know if like everything seems like it's so big that I can't fight the battles anymore. And so I just won't.
Yeah.
And so you get to that complacency of like, this is where I'm comfortable, you know?
Well, and a lot of times it's like, we're always told and taught, like, don't overexert yourself. Like, hey, you know, take it easy. You know, like, hey, that's a little too much. Don't stress yourself. Like, I hear this one all the time. Don't stress yourself out. Okay. Yes. Okay. Unnecessary stress, we want to eliminate. Okay. But stress is such an important part of growth and life. It's ridiculous. And I don't remember who I was listening to or who said this phrase, but without stress, you never know what you're capable of.
Right.
Okay. It's like, where do diamonds come from? Lumps of coal that have put under a tremendous amount of stress. And then through that stress, something shines. So if you never put yourself under any kind of stress, man, you're like really missing the boat of like what you're truly capable of. Because nobody really knows what they're truly capable of until they're put in that moment of stress. And growth and stress, I mean, it's painful.
Yeah.
But in order to grow, you got to go through some pain first. Like I've never experienced any type of growth, whether it's physical, mental, spiritual, like whatever, fill in the blank, where it wasn't painful. And it wasn't, and it wasn't like, oh, that really sucked. Or that hurt a lot more than I thought it would. But yet, you're far better coming out of it than you were before it actually happened.
Right. And I also think that, again, I think it's a human condition. I'm not even going to say that it's like, our culture is like an instant gratification culture. I just think but I think it's a human thing.
Yeah.
That
we want things fast.
We want things fast. And if I can do X and get Y and have it happen pretty quickly, oh man, that's great. That means I will keep doing X to get Y pretty quickly. Well, okay, you're going to do A. Okay, cool. You'll get B. Will I get it quickly? No. And I mean, and again, we'll talk about lifting weights because I've been doing that a lot lately. And lifting weights, like once you actually really understand how much muscle mass your body puts on annually, I'm not talking about per week, I'm talking about annually. You will kill yourself in the gym for months before you start to notice any major growth. You have to really like invest in that. You have to invest in yourself over that long period with the faith that at the end of the day, it's going to be okay.
Yeah.
You're going to be great. You're going to be fine. You've got to trust the process. And I think that a lot of us, because of whatever reason, whether it be the fact that we are instant gratification, whether it be because things are hard and we're all dealing with certain things, and the emotional and mental energy that we spend on spinning our wheels on things that really don't matter, because we do. That sucks all that energy dry. That doesn't leave us that energy for the faith and like, I need to keep moving through this. I mean, it's the same thing in the martial arts. I remember when I was in the very beginning, I don't know if Mark was like this too, but when I first showed up and I was a white belt, I was looking around and I'm like, oh man, all these different belts and everything else. And there was a kid who was a purple belt and I'm like, man, that guy's going to kill me.
For me, it was Mike Roach as a blue belt.
Mike Roach is just scary, period, because he's kind of out of control.
Because I remember him walking in. He was the first high rank that I saw. I was like, holy crap.
A blue belt.
This blue belt's going to murder me. And he was a short guy, too. Like, I towered over him.
Yeah.
Like, he was not a big man at all. Yeah. But the fact that he had a black gi and a blue belt on, I was like, this guy's a freaking expert.
Oh, it just means that they're going to destroy you, right?
Exactly.
And you look at that now, looking back on it now, it's just like, oh my gosh, he was a blue belt. That person was a purple belt like a foot.
You can't even remember their stuff anyways.
You couldn't, but it's that I think it's that perception of like, well, they're that position. And will I ever get there? Will I ever get to be as good as that? Will I ever? Well, guess what? Show up.
Yeah.
Show up every day. You've got to push the weight. You've got to practice. You've got to do the kicks. You've got to do the punches. You've got to do your forms and your kempos. And that's, you've got to trust the process. You've got to have faith that at the end of the day, you'll wake up one day and you'll be like, I'm actually not just a black belt, but I'm pretty good.
Yeah.
Like this has been amazing. And other people will just see you show up with a black belt one day and be like, oh, it was probably pretty easy for you. And you're like, you have no idea.
Yeah.
What I had to push myself through, the effort I had to push myself through, the trials, mental trials, physical trials, and I mean, we've all had, all sorts of stuff going on, physical injuries, emotional stuff. Actually, like, one of the reasons why I'm not teaching anymore, my house burned down, and when Mark, you were talking about, you never know what you're going to do until you're put in that situation. I would have never run into a burning building before, but I did.
Yeah.
And it was wild. I mean, after, like, looking back on it afterwards, you kind of like, well, what are you willing to do? Like, what type of training are you willing to go through? And once you get that point, you know, like you can talk about competitions, like you will go do it. You know, it's either one or the other. Either you will or you won't. Mm-hmm. You'll either rise to the occasion or you'll fall to your disappointment. And, you know, kind of pulling that back into like tournament, which I know it's kind of weird going from, you know, my house burning down and
burning building to tournament.
It's the same thing. You need to rise to the occasion. You need to rise to the occasion to show the best that you can be. That's going to be better than everybody else out there. Who freaking cares? No one cares. Yeah, it doesn't matter. You need to show up to yourself. You owe that to yourself to show up and be like, you know what? I laid everything out there, and I feel good about my performance out there. You know. And at that point, like, yeah, are you going to get like the small little golden guy on the trophy and everything else? Yeah, who cares? Who cares?
Yeah.
If you do, good job, consolation package. But you know what? You deserve it to yourself to show that you are worth all of that effort, all of that energy that you put into the dojo for those hours, those hundreds of hours to get to that point. Learning how to kick, learning how to punch, block, and everything else, snap those punches. I mean, that's a discipline, you know? And to just say at the end of the day, oh, I'm not competitive because you're scared is a failure for you to stand up for you.
Yeah. No, that's a big one because I've started to notice that people won't practice as an excuse.
Right.
Oh, I didn't do as well because I didn't have enough time to practice. Yeah, you did. You just chose not to. So anytime someone's like, "Oh, I don't have enough time to practice," you're only lying to yourself, sir. Okay. If you want to continue to lie to yourself, that's going to be your issue you're going to have to deal with later. But everybody has way more time than they realize that we're just wasting. Now, what you choose to use your time with is obviously your choice. But it's like you're telling me you can't spend 5 minutes running through your one time. It's like, no, I don't even have 5 minutes. I go, okay, now we're dealing with deeper issues than that. Now you're delusional. Okay. Yeah. But I've noticed a lot of people, and I know people do it because I did that a couple of times myself, where it's like, oh, I didn't play as high as I want because I just, I didn't practice as much as I should have. All right, dumbass, you just didn't practice enough, and you're using that as an excuse. So, I completely agree that it's a fear thing. They're scared, and that's okay to be scared. No, nobody said you have to be not scared.
Right.
Okay? But you're going to come into scary things in life all the time. Okay. How are we going to deal with them? It's like our 7 rules is one of them is courage. That's the theme for this month. Theme for the month is courage. How do you show courage? Well, you can't have courage without the absence of fear. It's like you have to be scared of something to have courage. And people are just, we need to get back to that time frame where it's like, it's okay to fail. Okay? It's okay not to win. Did you try hard? Did you put forth your best effort? If you did everything you could to possibly win, compete, whatever, and you didn't win, man, that is okay. Everybody can handle that. Everybody can be acceptable with that. But what we can accept is not you putting forth your best effort. It's like you're in control of that at all times.
Right.
We as people, humans are pattern recognizing creatures.
Yeah.
But we also are very habit forming because our brain is very lazy. So if we start making a habit of letting ourselves be the excuse, that's gonna be something that carries with you. If you start making a habit of saying, you know what, I'm scared, but I'm gonna do this anyway, that starts carrying it with you. Mm-hmm. So it just is a path that you have to choose.
There was an interview that I was watching with Simon Sinek, and he was talking about Olympians, and when they go out and they compete. Now we're talking about, I kind of look at the Olympics as a lot like our tournament, right? You train for years, for that 1 30-second moment to do whatever it is you're going to do, and that's it. Like either you make it or you don't by that point. And the reporter came up and we're interviewing these Olympians, and they were like, man, like, how did this go? How did you do? Were you scared? You know, man, were you scared? Were you nervous? You know, what was going on? And every single athlete looked at the reporter and said, no, I was excited. I was excited. And he says, I find it amusing that the reporter used their own personal feelings, because that reporter would have been scared.
Yeah.
That reporter would have been nervous and you know, very timid to go off and do that, because the reporter doesn't have all of the effort and energies put into it to be successful at that point. So of course for them it's scary, you know. And the athletes, on the other hand, yes, is it scary to, you know, do you get nervous to perform? Of course you do. But the athletes understood that those nerves and everything else are going to hold you back. So instead of, you know, as those feelings arise inside of you, they took it as, I'm not nervous, I'm excited. I'm not nervous, I'm excited. You know, and I think that, you know, having that mental switch of like, no, I'm not nervous I'm excited for a tournament. You know, and if mom or dad or whoever, like, oh man, I don't know, I'm really, really nervous for you. You're nervous, of course you are. Because you're thinking that I'm going to have to go out there and perform, and you're thinking, I couldn't do that because I haven't practiced. I haven't done anything. So you're taking your own feelings, your own emotions, and then putting them on that person.
Yeah.
And that person needs to look at them and be like, no, I'm not nervous. I'm excited. I'm excited for this opportunity to go out there and to be my best.
And that also brings up that us as parents need to make sure we're not passing on our judgments and our preconceived notions and our fears onto the kids.
Right.
Be like, oh man, doing a tournament, that must be, like you said, must be scary.
Are you gonna have to hit people?
Yeah. Well, so
They're going to get punched in the face, and then, you know, I don't know if I could get punched in the face.
Yeah, and it's like, well, you're not here training every week, so of course it'd be scary for you. Yeah. So that's where it's up to the parents to be like, man, I can't wait. I'm excited to see you compete. Like, that's going to be so much fun. They need to be as excited as them for something that you're not doing. But if you're not excited for them to compete, why would they be excited to compete?
It's going to... I'll go first.
Oh, I was just going to comment. It's just like your number one fan. Like,
exactly.
Your number one fan should be with you regardless.
Yeah.
Like, the 1 year that one of the NFL teams, I'm going to leave them unnamed, went 0-16, they still had fans. The fans were pissed, but they kept coming back next year.
We're sorry, Lions. Hey, the Lions made the NFC Championship.
Hey,
so.
I'm keeping teams unnamed. I know I'm in Eagles country right now, but
yeah, don't talk about the Eagles unless it's good.
I know. Yes, sir. Go ahead, Tony.
No, that's the thing. It's I was about to say to Mark. Mark knows because, you know, of having Maya in drill, right?
Yep.
And when you go and she does drill, you're seeing their same routine once every 2 weeks during comp season. So my daughter does color guard. And if you guys don't know what color guard is, it's basically girls that are out there. They do this whole routine. They're swinging flags around, tossing them, you know, throwing them up in the air, spinning them, all sorts of crazy stuff. And what Steve said, yeah, you've got as a parent, being their fan, it deflates a lot of that anxiety and those nerves when they come up. Because my daughter has come up. She's like, I'm really, really nervous for tomorrow, because they get judged and they get graded and everything else. And she would come up and be like, I'm really scared. I'm really nervous. I'm like, are you serious? Dude, like, you guys killed it last time. Well, yeah. I'm like, dude, like, you guys looked really, really good. Well, we're working on this new thing, and it's kind of hard. And I'm like, yeah, but like, you go to the practices, you know what to do. You're going to be amazing. And I'm excited for her to go compete. And yes, sitting for hours watching that type of stuff, you know, and you watch the ones that you're just like, oh, this is so painful.
Yeah.
But then it gets to the point that you go to them enough that for me as a parent, I'm not like, go off and do it. Like,
yeah, because you're like, I know what I'm doing now too.
I know how the routine.
Put me in, coach.
I can do this routine.
I
got it. And so, like, the nerves for me aren't there. And I think that's really hard for parents, because us as parents, we do want to protect our children. I mean, that's just an innate thing. We want what's best for them. We don't want to have them have them go through something that's going to cause hurt and pain.
Yeah.
And we all know, because I mean, I know I've lost several times. There's several times I've gone to tournaments as an instructor. You know, I go out there and I leave everything on the floor when I would do my forms, and then not be able to breathe, come back, sit down, and then the judges can't figure out who's what. And Tony, could you come on back out here and do that again? I'm like, no, and then of course it was like for second and third place. Like it wasn't even for first, you know?
Yeah.
But
I'll concede. I'll take third.
it's like, I can't breathe.
I don't want to do it anymore.
I can't breathe right now. But yeah, I mean, it is what it is though. You know, like you go out there, you leave it on the floor, and I'm like, okay, great. You know, that other person beat me. Did I leave everything on the floor? I did. Almost passed out at the end. There was one tournament that actually happened. We were all done. We stood there, and I was like, please, please, please dismiss us. I can't, the walls are closing in. They dismissed us, and I walked straight behind some bleachers and held on for dear life as I tried to breathe. It was good times.
Yeah, no, it's funny because Jamin went to Spectrum Academy for high school. And for those of you guys who don't know what Spectrum is, it's a school for people on the spectrum with, you know, various forms of autism. And he was on the basketball team. And I will have to say that those were some of the hardest moments as a parent to sit and watch, because they were getting their asses kicked. Like, I'm not talking like 20, like 40, 60 point blowouts. And as someone that played sports and competes, it drove me nuts that they weren't upset. Like, why aren't you guys like punching the other team in the face to like get them to stop scoring points? And I had to take a step back and be like, okay, he's on a team. He's being active. Does he like losing? No, but he doesn't really care at the same time. I need to take his stance. And oh my God, yeah. It was so hard. Like, even Shanna would be like grabbing my arm, be like, just relax, just breathe. It's okay. You're not playing. I'm like, they don't even care. And I'm like, she's like, it doesn't matter that they don't care. They're playing. They're doing something productive. I'm like, you're right. Slap somebody in the face or something. But it's like you will have those types of kids that are like, yeah, they're just like, yeah, they're just happy to show up. That's fine. You can still go to the tournament and show up.
Mm-hmm.
But that's what you want. That's what you want. Don't get mad or cry if you don't win a trophy. You know, we put so much emphasis on winning that it's losing its meaning anymore. It's like we need to focus more on learning. Okay, it's like, what did you learn from the tournament?
Mm-hmm.
Not what did you win. No, what did you learn from the tournament? What did you take away from it? Did you have a good time? Did you not have a good time? Was it scary? Was it not scary? Like, you know, that. So I'm personally, after the tournament, instead of what place did you take, I'm gonna ask, what did you learn from the tournament? And I think that's going to be my key phrase from moving on from now on, is what did you learn? Okay, what did you learn from the tournament? So.
And that can even be from, like, what did you learn by watching the other people compete as well? Like, that's one thing that with tournament, and also with you know, my daughter who's in this color guard thing, is that of course we see all of these different routines and all of the different coaches that you know, got their own specific choreography. And I mean, there are some that are out there that you watch it and you're just like, holy crap, I didn't even know. Like, that's awesome and amazing. That's really cool, you know. And as a martial artist, I think we're like synonymous with pirates. I mean, that's cool. That's now mine. You know, I'm taking this. You know?
Right. Exactly. That's a Kempo thing.
That is a total Kempo thing.
Yeah, total Kempo thing. And I tell people that too. They're like, so what's like the cool benefit of like studying Kempo? It's like, because we steal things.
We steal everything. Yeah. And that's, you know, and it opens you up. And like, you're never going to see that unless you go. You're never going to experience that
Yep.
unless you go. You're never going to be able to look at somebody, and they might be even in your own studio even, and they do something during tournament, and you're like, what was that?
Yeah.
And all of a sudden they're like, yeah, I was practicing this at home, and I thought I'd try it, and it worked, and, I got a trophy. You're like, okay, Sensei. Not you, Sensei, but this guy. Teach me your ways.
Yeah, for reals. And it's meant to be a good experience and a good time. And honestly, our tournaments are just that.
100%.
They are the best run tournaments I would put up against anybody. I don't care what company you run, what styles you teach. If you've ever been to a tournament, our tournaments are the best run tournaments ever. And I'll stand by that till I see a better one, which I kind of doubt will ever happen.
Yeah.
So to go and say it's because it was poorly run, that's an incorrect statement. Try again. It's like, no, you didn't, you wanted to win a trophy and you didn't practice. It all goes back to practice and your expectations and learning. You got to learn. Like, even if you're like, I hate it when I hear parents, or like, it really discourages me when I hear parents be like, well, we'll just go watch this first one. I'd highly recommend not going and watching, because halfway through he's going to wish he competed and now he's going to be upset.
Well, not only that, but okay, so let's just even say hypothetically, you're going to go watch the first one. Okay, your son's an orange belt or a purple belt at this point in time. Okay, so on the next tournament, everybody else that competed in this tournament is now going to have more of an experience advantage than your son.
Yep.
Who didn't compete because you just wanted to go and watch, because let's be honest, it's because you're afraid he will fail and that fear is getting transferred to him. My armchair quarterback for psychology.
No, it's very true.
But and you're just like, you don't want to put that person at a disadvantage because like they just didn't go to tournament. Let's say you don't go to tournament at all until you're a brown belt, and then you're competing up against somebody who's a brown belt who's been to every single tournament. Well, they know how it runs.
Yeah.
They've experienced all of that stress and the anxiety and the adrenaline dump.
Yeah.
And in the very beginning, it hits you heavy. Mm-hmm. By the time you get to like your 5th, 6th, 8th, 10th tournament, you're just like,
yeah, whatever.
Okay, hello, judges. My name is this.
Go.
Can I just do my stuff? Great. I'm going to go out there. You kill it, bow, and I sit down.
Yeah. Yeah, I remember getting so worked up and nervous before we would compete all the time.
Oh, right.
Like, okay. Oh, it's almost time. And like, you forget, be like, I'm still judging. Be like, okay, don't worry about that. Just concentrate on judging.
Mm-hmm.
And then when it was time for us to go, I was like, taking deep breaths and like trying to stretch out and limber up. And I mean, before the end, it's just like, all right, where do you want me?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, all right, I'll come out. I'll show you my best, and hopefully you like it. But I'm like, dude, I've got way too many other things to worry about than what place I get in the tournament.
Right.
It's like, I want to put on a good show for the students. I want them to show what they can possibly be learning one day. But I could give two you-know-whats if I win a trophy or not. Like, I want to be competitive. Like, I'm a competitive person. I like winning. But yet when you're at the stage where I'm at, or we're at as an instructor, it's like, I don't really care if I win against the other instructors. I want all the instructors to look good. Because if one person looks good, then we all look good. But if one person looks bad,
100%,
then we all look bad.
Yep.
Oh, yeah.
So it was like, I never saw the infamous kick, thank God. But it was, what was it, Adam Pulsiver? Do you remember seeing that? Where he does this he was an instructor, and they were sparring at a tournament. And again, I thank God I never saw it, or I'd just be like, I'm not doing academy if this is the crap that they produce. He does this god awful spinning reverse crescent kick in a tournament sparring setting that's maybe waist height at the highest. And he thought he was the coolest stuff on the face of the earth. And
Leg wasn't extended.
No,
it was bent. He was
awful.
off balance. It was just.
He almost fell over, and he's like pointing at people. He's like, "That one was for you," and you're just like, "Okay, now it doesn't matter what else happens the rest of the tournament. That's all I'm remembering."
Right.
Mm-hmm. And it's like he didn't think about that, obviously. So it's like, dude, if you look stupid, I look stupid now too. So you better watch yourself. But yeah, it's interesting what we tend to lie to ourselves about.
Right.
That'd probably be more of the question is, what do we lie to ourselves about?
Oh, we'd be here for days.
Exactly. But I do actually have a bonus question. Question number 4. This was actually brought up to me yesterday. She's like, you should talk about this. And I was like, okay. As an adult, how do you teach, or how would you help your adult students deal with quote unquote adult bullies? Okay, because we always focus on kids and like teaching kids how to stand up for themselves and like, you know, schoolyard bullies and this and that. But they don't go away. They just change age.
Yeah.
Okay. And they become a little bit more cunning on how they tend to bully you. It's not maybe direct physical violence, but it's that snide comment every now and then. It's the talking with a group of people, and then when you show up, they whisper. It's the glances as you walk by. It's, you know, just very catty behavior that is bullying. I mean, that's a definition of a bully. So I've been asked, how do you teach your adult students to deal with bullies? So, Tony, we'll kind of start with you because you've had a little bit more experience with teaching, and then we'll all chime in. What would you tell, or what would you have your adult students do with something like that?
So, with that one, especially a lot of those situations are, you're generally in a work setting.
Yeah, it's a work setting scenario.
And you're dealing with people that are, you know, assholes.
Yeah.
For lack of a better term.
Perfectly fine.
And unfortunately, like what you said, I think was true, that bullies don't change. They just get older. And I think deep down inside of every single one of us, our insecurities, if we do not work on them, do not change. We just get older. So by looking at that, you know, it's like, okay, so where's your self-esteem at that point? What do you feel about yourself? And as we get older, again, we start thinking more deeply about certain things, and that internal monologue and self-hatred that sometimes we can like dive into kicks into high gear, and that's why we execute certain behavior patterns. You know, like we want to become the pleaser, because like when I was a kid, you know, I would do stuff and I'd get in trouble, but if I did what my mom said, then everything was good at home, and we just adopt that, you know, throughout our lives. And so when that person is a jerk and an asshole to us, what do? Well, oh, I'm sorry, I was the one who was. It's like, no, stop. No. Yeah. Like, they were the ones that were jerks, and you are worth standing up for. Now, that doesn't mean you get to be a jerk back.
Yeah.
But I think getting down to that belief set that you are valuable, that you are a person worth fighting for. Because I think a lot of times, because I've been there, that you get to a point where in life happens, and you honestly wonder if you are worth fighting for.
Yeah.
That if you are worth anything, really, you know, because you've got all this other stuff that's going on in your life, and, you know, some guy at work or whatever gal at work comes over and says something catty and stuff to you, and then we just take it because, well, I mean, I'm not worth that much anyway, so I guess I deserve it. I think that's the first spot that I would start to go over. Because even if I give you keywords to say, key phrases, someone says this to you, say this back.
Oh, yeah.
You know, you can say it back, but if there's no real belief of what that is, that you're worth a person to stand up for behind it, it's going to ring hollow. It's going to be empty. And the bully's going to know that. And then it's over.
Yeah.
Because it's, you know, the cheetah knows where the gazelle's at. I know that you're going to go back to the same watering hole. You're dead, you know. And so I think that's one of the biggest things. That's like, honestly, why, like I said, going back full circle to what we talked about in the very beginning, why I started teaching in the martial arts is because I honestly believe that we do have a crisis of self-esteem and self-worth.
Yeah.
Really, I don't think I think it's something that's scary. I think it's something that's ugly. I think it's something that makes people feel emotions. I don't have any, so I don't know what that's like.
Yeah, well, I mean, also with the adage of social media, they see all these influencers, and they're like, quote unquote, these 20-something multimillionaires.
Right.
And it's like, and then all of a sudden you're 19 and you're flipping burgers and you're not this multimillionaire. Well, what's wrong with me? Why am I not at this level of success yet?
Mm-hmm.
It's like, yeah, these influencers need to be very careful with the message they're putting out, because
or even that, like, I'll throw myself under the bus on this too. Like, here I am. I'm more than 30 years old.
What?
Welcome.
Ran a martial arts studio for 17 years, had a massive, like, personal thing happen. My house burns down, lose everything that I've ever had in my life, ran into a burning building where there was so much smoke that you couldn't see the fire. Like, that just kind of give you the type of darkness that was in there to save my dog. Heat like you would not believe. Lost everything. Tried to balance that. Building my house. My kids are a mess. My family's a mess. I'm trying to phone it in kind of for my business. Like, I showed up and I taught because I didn't know what else to do.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden you get to the point where you're like, something's got to give. And that's why I closed my studio down. And then here at the age I am now, starting over, like, am I, you have that conflict of conscience. Like, am I worth anything now? Like, what have I done? Like, because of, a big event, I'm not going to say it wasn't big, changed my entire world. Again, like, you look at other people, it's like, well, like, I'm a real estate appraiser now for Salt Lake County. And I'm going out seeing houses, and I'm thinking, what in the hell do you do?
Exactly.
What type of cocaine are you selling? And please, can I give you some investment money so I can be a part of your program?
Startup capital.
Do you need an angel investor? Right. But it's one of those things that you have to come to yourself and say, you know what? No matter where you are at in life, young, old, whatever, that you are worth showing up for.
Oh, yeah.
That you are worth putting in that extra effort. It doesn't matter how much money you make. It doesn't matter where you're at. Are you better today than you were yesterday? If you were,
yeah,
great. If you're not, what do we need to do to make that happen? And it doesn't have to be a lot.
Yeah. It's little changes. And again, you got to think, how many lives did you change in those 17 years?
Oh, shoot.
I don't even think you could probably quantify it, to be quite honest with you, because the ripple effect that you've created, who knows how long it's going to last.
Right.
So when you say that you're starting over, it's like, yeah, in some instances, yeah, you're starting over, but you're starting anew.
Right.
And it's one of those things. It's where, like, okay, I've got 17 years running a business and changing people's lives. Now I can do it in a different form. Okay, because
starting with experience.
Yeah, exactly. You're starting with experience that nobody has. And it's like, everybody that you hear works for, like, the, state or government people, they're like lazy bunch of whats. And it's like, okay, that's not you.
Yeah.
It's funny because I guarantee that it probably drove you nuts the first few weeks you were actually working with some people.
Oh, dude, it was
just like,
well. So the first 3 months, it was like drinking from a fire hose, because it was like, we have to train you in how things are done, and it was like stuff that I'd never really done before. So that part was, to me, that was like very engaging on like the intellectual side of my brain. But I also got hired on. I got hired on in February, and it's what they call rolls. They close the rolls, where they get all the properties, the tax or the property valuations, so that can then get sent off to the treasurers and stuff like that, and they can assess taxes on it. And so for like 3 weeks, because I didn't have any real experience of doing anything, I couldn't really help them. I sat there at my desk and did nothing.
Yeah.
I wanted to stab my eyeballs out. And so even when the county assessor, he met with everybody and he's like, I just want to do these annual meetings. I'm like, what's going on? I was like, dude, your onboarding process sucks. You need to, like, I sat at my desk for like at least 2 weeks with nothing to do because they didn't have anything that I could do. I said, you need to fix that. And, Christopher's, who's the county assessor, he was like, I don't want to say that he was shocked that happened, but he was like, what? Yeah. I'm like, yeah, like this is what's going on. And he's like, we're going to change that. But again, you're right. Like bringing that experience in, like we're currently working on new software for the county. And, I've met with, the upper managers and stuff like that because I've done this. Because, I am able to come in and be like, all right, cool. One thing I did learn from the marketing people is that click to action is very important, that if you have to click more than once or twice to get to actually giving somebody information or getting information from that person, they're gone.
Yeah.
I said, that's how things are. And in this software, it freaking sucks because, and I gave them my reason why, I wouldn't have that, experience. And you're right. Yeah. So I am bringing all that experience, but I still don't and this will probably happen for everybody. You still have that feeling of I am starting from the ashes of what happened, literally. But yet you still have that feeling of am I kind of a loser? Like, did I suck so badly at a whole bunch of little things in life that I couldn't succeed at everything? And you have that issue.
Yeah, those internal dialogues. It's because when you close something, it's hard not to feel like it quote unquote failed.
Yeah,
but. Yeah.
And I did. I wrapped my whole entire identity. That's who I was.
Yeah,
I wasn't just like Tony Davis. No.
You're Tony the karate guy.
I was Tony. I was either Sensei or, you're Tony that karate guy.
Yeah.
And that's who I was. And then when you shut that down, well, then who are you?
Yeah.
Who am I? Am I I'm not that karate guy anymore. This freaking sucks. I am trying to get things going. I worked on my house. I mean, did a whole bunch of stuff while they were doing work in construction that I was there every day to make sure they did it right. And then you get to a point where it's honestly, it's the sheetrock and mud and tape. I was like, you guys do this. I hate this stuff. I don't want to touch it. So they would then go do that. And I really didn't have anything to do at that point. And then it was well, I've got to start looking and, I've got to find something else to do. And all of that self-doubt creeps in. And kind of going back, I'm bringing this back to the bully thing. If I was mentally in that position, I think anybody could have come up and said anything to me at that point in time, and I would have taken it. Just because even though, yes, the fire wasn't my fault, but you kind of feel like if I would have done something different, it wouldn't have happened.
Yeah, the whole what if.
Yeah, it's the what if, and you play that. Everybody does. Everybody plays that. And, was closing down the studio the right idea? It was either that or I don't have a family or I don't have a house. Things were getting spread so thin, something had to give.
Yeah.
And, now what do I do? What am I worth as a person? And, and I think personally, this a lot comes from just my own experience, that if we, and that's a lot of things changed when I actually did get hired on and stuff like that. It's oh, no, okay. I'm okay. I'm okay as a person.
Yeah.
So that now if somebody came up and said something to me, that I'd be whoa, slow your roll. What are you talking about? Okay, A, don't talk to me like that. B, what's going on? And the instant you confront, if you have that self-value, and you're able to confront somebody who is a bully to you in a very, very calm, peaceful manner, but they know that you're standing up for yourself, they're not going to keep coming after you because all of a sudden they thought that what was there was a gazelle is another cheetah staring them in the face. Yeah. Would you want to go toe to toe? I will come right back at you, Yeah, no. I don't want to do that. I'll go after somebody else who's an easy target.
Mm-hmm. No, it's because it's definitely a work situation. So without getting too much into it, it was actually Shanna. So she doesn't feel like she's being bullied, but she's got bullies to deal with.
Right.
And it's again a group of women that, I guess, for lack of a return, because I don't really know them, so I mean, they seem very unhappy. So they're going to take all their unhappiness out on somebody that's doing well.
Yes.
So she's doing very well at her job. The vice president and the president she's like their go-to person. So if they have any issues, she's the one that fixes it. And she's becoming well known within the company as like someone that's going to make big waves. And she's already made big waves. And it's just that bucket of crabs theory where it's like when you throw women all together, I don't know what it is, but when one of them starts to succeed, they either try to pull their ass back into the bucket or they just start spreading lies and rumors and gossiping about them to like tear them down. And it's like, Shanna's like, little do they know what type of person they are dealing with. She's like, I ain't going to stab you in the back. Like, I will stab you
in your face.
In front of your face. So that's why she asked, because she's all like, do you like confront them? And it's like, you have to confront them.
Yeah.
Like, because if you don't, they won't stop. I told her, I go, you got to confront them.
Mm-hmm.
And it's scary. And she goes, well, I'm not scared to confront them. She goes, I just don't know what will happen after I confront them. I go, fair enough.
Which is
she
fair.
goes, I don't want to start a fight. I don't want to cause drama. So she's like, do I just let them be catty and, you know, talk their nonsense? And she's like, because, you know, does it affect me? Not really. But every now and then it's like, God, I'm drained today and I don't know why. It's because you dealt with all the back talking bullshit for 8 hours.
Right.
You're drained.
Right.
So it's like, yeah, you like, do you physically fight them? No. But you got to come up to them and know that, like, I know what you're doing. And it needs to stop. Because either you stop it or I stop it. And you won't like it if I stop it.
Well, so my wife, she's a manager. She's a nurse manager for heart, lung, and artificial heart transplant up at the U. And to call her a manager, I don't think is the adequate title that she should have. So generally, like, and I tell people this, I'm like, yeah, generally a manager manages what? 7, 10 people, maybe? Yeah. 57. She's like a department head.
Sounds like it.
With a manager title. But she has implemented a policy that her and I both learned when we went through Dave Ramsey's Entree Leadership course. It's a course that he does for people who want to be entrepreneurs and that type of stuff. And he has an absolute 100% no gossiping policy. Mm-hmm. You gossip at my job, or you gossip here, period, you're fired. Done, no questions. We don't put up with it. If you have a problem, you come to your boss. Tell your boss, and then he will go take care of things. You do not talk to yourself, to the cubicle mate next to you. You don't talk to this person over here. You don't spread all of that around. If you have something to say about somebody, have it be positive.
Yeah.
You know, like that type of stuff, like good things to say about people should be spread laterally. And if you have a critique or criticism about somebody or a problem with them, that should go to the person who can fix the problem.
Yeah.
And so she implements this all the time. And she's caught some of her employees like actually doing that. And she'll bring them into the office and like sit them down and be like, this is not tolerated here. Mm-hmm. You know, and again, in Shanna's situation and scenario, a lot of that would go away if the manager over those women.
And that's what like I kept trying to tell her. I go,
yes.
She had a meeting with the vice president and president, and she goes, "Okay, guys, this is not a meeting of like, hey, girls are being mean to me." She's like, "I'm a grown woman. I can handle myself. We have a culture problem right now." Mm-hmm. And we have a cancer growing that if we don't get it corrected fast, it's going to cost us good employees. And employees that are hardworking, that show up on time, that do their job, and they do it very, very well. They're going to get pushed out by these women that don't show up on time. They work half-assed, and they're always looking for excuses.
Right.
I go, so we're not having this meeting because Shanna's getting bullied. I can take care of myself in that aspect. I go, we're having this meeting because we have a culture problem and the only people that can fix it are you two. It's like, I will try to fix it, but it'll just create more problems because they already have a problem with me.
Right.
So it's like, I agree. It's that whole, like, you have a standard and you hold it to that standard. And then it's like, you hope that the people ahead of you hold that standard as well.
It sounds like she's already being recognized by the vice president and region about her performance.
Oh yeah.
You know, and that's,
and it pisses them off even more.
yeah.
So it's like,
But at the same time, it's like, you could say, this is my track record. You can see what I've done. And then I'm feeling this way. But it's not about me. It's about the culture because I'm just one of those good employees.
Yeah.
And if I feel like I'm going to be pushed out because of this, others are going to be pushed out that aren't going to have the confidence to say anything to you.
Exactly.
So who would you rather have?
Yeah. No, it's 100% truthful. It's like, man, it's that whole, like, one bad apple can spoil the bunch. It's so true.
Take it back to students. It's like, you have a student that's being disruptive.
Like, boom.
They're gone first.
Yeah.
Well, and Mark, you and I have, worked out with, people that phone it in when they would come up to workouts or show up late and do that type of stuff, and then expect to get the same treatment of everybody else who was there, like, early, on time, who was really putting in all the effort and everything else. And I can say that probably a lot of people left because of that.
Yeah.
Because they're just like, well, wait a minute. Like, I'm busting my butt and killing myself to try to get this, but this person can show up late, not really do the workout and do the things that need to happen, and they get the same benefits that I do, then why would I do this?
Yeah.
Well, hold on. So I stopped showing up and doing that. So I get chewed out, but that other person didn't. Peace out.
Yeah.
And it's the same thing that's going to happen in Shanna's work, that eventually those people are going to cost that company more money than it would be for them to get replaced.
Yeah, absolutely. And Master Martin has a good phrase. He's like, every now and then you got to shoot a hostage. And I've told that to Shanna, and Shanna's like, that is the greatest statement ever. And she told it to him. She goes, I'm not telling you what to do, but I'm just letting you know every now and then you got to shoot a hostage. Okay? Because it's like, you're not trying to rule by fear, but at the same time, it's like, okay, you guys aren't following the standards. You're gone.
Yeah,
and that'll straighten everybody in line. Because there's really just like there's a ringleader.
Yeah.
And it's like, hey, you get rid of that ringleader, these other women are just going to go back to what they were doing.
Right.
So.
Because that ringleader's stirring the pot.
Yep.
Yeah. That way she feels important.
Yep. Yeah, and exactly. It's like they're doing this because they have nothing else going for them in their lives.
Right. Right.
And it's like, I feel bad for them at the same time because it's like, damn, to be that far gone with your own personal life, to feel like you've got to tear people down as an adult to make yourself feel better. It's like, I don't know whether or not I need to punch you in the face or give you a hug. Be like, I'm sorry that you're feeling this way, but you keep it up, I'm going to knock you out.
Well, and I remember in my own personal life that there was a time that me personally would just get like upset when somebody else got something that I wanted, but I didn't get. Mm-hmm. And I mean, crap, this was, over 20 years ago or something like that. And I remember it's like seeing that in myself. It's like, oh, like, why do I do that? It's like, all right, well, I'm going to try to, be positive and, be happy. And if somebody, and then it was weird. Like, it kind of took me over. I actually enjoy, like, to the point where I'm almost like, okay, if I get something, fine, whatever. But if Steve got like this big, huge, voice deal, and he's like, dude, like, I'm gonna get $1 million off of this thing. It's gonna be amazing. I'm throwing a party at my house. Dude, like, are you kidding me? I'm going to his house and I'm going to party and celebrate the fact that he did that, because that's awesome and amazing. Someone gets a brand new car, it's like, oh, well, I drove a Scion XB 2008 for a long time. All the way up until last year. Had 190,000 miles on it. It was great, but am I going to like begrudge you for going out like, Master Martin and buying a Ferrari? No, are you freaking kidding me? Go out, buy the friggin' Ferrari. Do you want to ride it? Yes, I want to ride in it. Are you happy with the Ferrari? Oh, I love it. You know what? That makes me happy that you're happy with the Ferrari. Yeah. Whatever success people are having, you should be able to look inside yourself, and if you are envious, contemptuous, spiteful because of their success, that is nothing to do with them and 100% to do with you.
Yeah. And it hurts you in the long run.
Oh, 100% hurts you in the long run because it makes you miserable.
Yeah. I was like that for probably the first few years running the studio, where it was like I was so envious of everybody else's success that it hurt my own success.
Right.
And it's like, God, why is this person like always consistently doing well? And they're always got the top this and that. And then all of a sudden someone else comes in and they're like, God, Dad, they're doing it better than me. And you'd be upset when people would genuinely do well. Well, I kept doing worse.
Mm-hmm.
And then when I finally figured out that, man, if I just am okay with what everybody else is doing and actually genuinely happy that they're succeeding, what starts to happen? You start to do better as well, whether because you're releasing that burden you've been carrying around, or whether it's you're putting those good vibrations into the universe. It's like, if you're upset because someone does well, you're telling the universe you don't like success. That's it.
Mm-hmm.
But if you're like, oh man, I'm super happy for that person, way to go. Well, then, apparently you do like success. Because you can't pick and choose who you want to be successful.
Right.
It's like, if you're happy that they're successful, be happy. Because you should always want people to succeed. So.
Again, kind of like back to what I said about Chris Williamson, when he's like, if you can always choose to be angry or you can choose to be happy.
Exactly.
I choose to be happy. I choose to be excited for the success of others. And again, I think it comes down to our point of view. Like, if you look at life as a pie chart, and if somebody else succeeds, that means that there's less for other people. Like, I can see where you're coming from. I can see why you would be upset because, well, that person succeeded, therefore someone else got that taken away from them, because that's the only way to get a larger piece of the pie is to take it away from somebody else. But that's not really how it is.
No.
It's a bar graph. Oh, I had one success, and this guy over here, I had 5. It's like, oh, good job, high five. Because of his 5 successes does not take away from my 1.
Yeah.
And because he had 5 doesn't mean that if I tried harder, I would have gotten 3, and he would have gotten 3 as well, and we would have been even. No, he probably still would have had 5 successes. I would have had 3. Okay, then I need to start looking at life differently. I need to start looking at instead of a fixed unit, it's infinite.
Yeah.
That's right.
Because it truly is infinite.
It truly is.
Like, everybody could become successful if they truly wanted to be.
And here's the other thing. Everybody's success is different.
Yes.
Everybody's
success is different.
There's some people that, when I would tell them that I was running the studio, I had a mom that was funny because I was teaching her kid. She came in to pick him. She just sat in her car. And when the private lesson was over, she came in. And she looked at me. She says, all of those hours on the door? I said, yeah. She's like, you're here for all of them. I said, well, yes and no. So I am here for all those hours that are on the door, but I'm also here like an hour afterwards. I generally get here like an hour before. So there's like an hour or two before those that I'm here. Then I've also got these other, that I've got to go train and do this on these days. And she looked at me. She's like, you're working like 65 hours a week then? Like, yeah, pretty much. Mm-hmm. And she's like, what? She was like kind of like dumbfounded.
Yeah.
And I'm like, but for me, that was my version of success. Other people are going to look at that and be like, I would rather slit my wrists. Yeah. Other people are going to look at doctors. There was one doc, I know him up at the U. He's actually the director over all of CT surgery. And he put in 120-hour week.
Wow.
Mm-hmm. And I'm just like, dude, did you even go home? He's like, no. He's like, I came home, I would chart and stuff in my office, and when I was tired I would sleep for like maybe a half hour, 45 minutes, and then go back and start doing it again. I had a procedure that once went 16 hours.
Jeez.
And so it's like, dude, I thought I worked hard.
Yeah.
No, I don't work hard at all anymore. And that stress and everything else, that's was his level of success. And then there's other people that save up money and buy a small cabin up in the woods, and you look at the amount of money they have, you're like, can you survive? Do you need some money? That's not a lot of money. Oh, I'm fine. This is my level of success.
Yeah.
So don't, again, Master Mark would always say this, and other people would say it too, but, don't count other people's money.
Yeah.
And you kind of think of it like, oh, that's from a greed thing. It's like, no, because their level of success and what they think is successful isn't yours.
And what they put into.
And what they put into it isn't yours.
Exactly. Yeah. Exactly. But moving on to our final segment, it's our shout out section.
Finish him! Time to shout out the warriors who've proven their might this week. Flawless victory.
To finish off the show, we always like to give somebody a shout out, whether it be someone from the dojo, someone personally you know. But we always like to give at least one shout out per person. So, Stephen, who's your shout out for this week?
I'm going to shout out Andrew from the Little Tigers for doing his entire form yesterday.
Yes, he did.
He did really well, despite everyone in the class not really knowing their form.
Andrew Plaguey was the only student who went from start to finish multiple times. So, good job, Andrew. Tony, who do you got?
Go. I'll just shout out my own family.
There you go. That's perfect.
The Davises, Aaron,
Landon, and Cicely. Yep. I'll shout them out. Yeah, they're all awesome and great. They're doing really well.
I still remember the last time we went over to your house and we were playing cards. And
poor Jamin.
Oh yeah, you guys play cards just like we do. It's kind of cutthroat.
There's no family at the table.
No, there is no family at this table. And just like Cicely getting up pissed. And I was like, that looks familiar. And her leaving the table and then coming back. I'm like, oh my God, this is the same family. Because like, I don't know. I think I've told you the story, but I don't know if I'm pretty sure I've told you the story too. One of the times when we were in Orlando, where Maya, Jamin, and I were playing Uno.
Mm-hmm.
Uno will ruin families, by the way, just so you know. Okay. We were playing Uno. And Jamin just was getting obliterated. Like, not even funny. Like, Maya would put a draw 4, and I'd be like, draw 4 to Jamin, and he'd be like, you serious? He'd be like, yeah, dude, draw 8. And then he kept drawing because he couldn't find one to play. And at some point, he had half the deck
in his hand.
In his hands. And then Maya, oh, bless her soul, she's just like her mother. She sees an opportunity and she just like digs into him. And she's like, hey man, are your arms getting tired? There's an awful lot of cards. And she just starts talking all sorts of shit to him. And he just threw the cards and left the hotel room. And we're like, and then Shannon comes, she thinks she was taking a nap or something. And she heard the door slam and she goes, what's going on? And we're like, Jamin just left. And she's like, what do you mean Jamin just left? We're like, he just left the hotel room. Like, we don't know where he's going. And so she goes out and like he's halfway down the hall, like he's trying to run home from Orlando. And we finally got him back in and we're like, we can't play Uno anymore. He's like, I don't want to play with you at all. And we're like, all right, whatever. 20 minutes later, he's playing games with us again.
Of course.
It's like good old Davis family card nights.
It was awesome.
But no, I would like to shout out Master Hong.
Ooh.
Master Hong from San Diego. Man, that guy consistently.
I miss that guy.
I was watching the videos. We appreciate you watching. He's leaving comments. He's thoughtfully giving. You know, you could tell he's listening to him thoughtfully, and I really appreciate the time he's taking to actually do that. Because I know how busy he is, and for him to actually take some time away to listen to something, it's a real honor for him to do that for us. So we really appreciate you. I don't know when he'll be coming out, but obviously when he comes out, we will have him on the show. But my shout out for this week is Master Hong from San Diego.
Yeah, if any of you get a chance to meet him, he is like 100% genuine, awesome guy. He's fantastic. I love him.
Yeah, he's one of my favorite people. So, but Tony, we appreciate you coming on the show. Obviously, we'll probably have you on multiple times.
Yeah.
So,
if you ever want to talk about Tesla stock, I mean, I'm totally down on that. Economics, inflation, I'm all neck deep in all that stuff.
How are you with the Bitcoin halving that's coming up?
Bitcoin halving. I think that needs to happen just because, it's just going to drop the price. It's going to open up the availability for people to be able to purchase more of it. That's why you do a split. But yeah, like again, don't get me started on that. We'll be here all day.
Yeah.
Thank you for showing a little bit of control there.
Yeah. that was probably the hardest thing Tony's had to do in years is executing that level of self-control. Like, don't get too far into it. Just a little bit. Just a little bit.
I'll just give you that little taste that you get at Baskin Robbins. Here you go. Okay, now I'm going to shut up now.
Yep.
First one's free.
Exactly. So, but Tony, we appreciate you coming on the show, man. Wonderful insights on the things that, like, I probably haven't thought of for a while.
Yeah.
I appreciate your friendship for the last 20 years. It's been a wonderful ride, to say the least. Man, we could just have a show just us telling stories, to be honest with you.
Dude, all the stories we could tell would be awesome.
Yeah, just traveling to and from California, stories from California.
And our favorite restaurant closed down.
Favorite restaurants closing down. Yeah, this is a heartbreaker. But we'll have him on again, and we'll just do like a story time with us.
Story time.
So, story time with TruMotion.
Story time.
But thanks for listening to us, guys. Make sure to subscribe to us on all wherever you get your podcasts or social media from. So we're on Apple Podcast, iTunes. No, not iTunes. It's Amazon Music, Spotify, YouTube, all that good stuff. So
don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe.
Yeah,
there we go.
Comment, and subscribe, just like the man said. So, but thank you for taking the time to listen to us, and kick it with us next time, guys.
Kick it with us next week. Bye, everyone.